So my name is Sarah Blichfeldt. I'm from University of Gothenburg in Sweden. My role there, among other tasks, is to be the local contact point for scholars at risk and to be responsible for our hosting of exile scholars. The University of Gothenburg is also the secretariat or the coordinator of the Swedish section of the Scholars at Risk network. So I combine those two roles, so the secretariat for the whole Swedish section and then the local reception of scholars in exile. And then I work with other international collaborations too. My role today is to facilitate the discussion among our panelists and with you in the audience. There will be a short break in the middle. You know, we have 2 hours, so it's longer than the previous panel sessions. So we want to give you a little bit of a break. And we also see that we will have more time for discussion with participants than we had in the previous sessions. So you are aware that you will get the chance to talk about the issues with us and with each other. So the topic is effective support strategies for the socio-professional integration of at-risk researchers. And the idea is to explore what such support strategies can be by pinpointing needs and providing good examples and identifying some general recommendations for host institutions and maybe also for the wider community supporting researchers at risk. I would like to remind you that during the Inspire Europe project and the Inspire Europe Plus project, a number of events have been organized to discuss challenges and offer support both for researchers at risk and for the host institutions. So I'll not go through the list of the materials, but recordings and written guidelines are available at the Inspire Europe webpage under resources. So you can have a look there. So just a reminder that these materials exist. Now I would actually like to call the panelists to come up here. So Omid Hashemi, artist, performer, researcher, former post-laureate at the University of Paris 8. Welcome. And Oksana Seumenicht from Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. You're the program director of MSCA for Ukraine program. Welcome. And then Bayan Almasri, you're a PhD student at the University of Lille. Welcome. And Rolando, Emeritus Senior Scientist from University of Lille and the mentor of Bayan. Welcome to you. And Clara Malkassian, you're a clinical psychologist and intercultural trainer at Élan Interculturel. So, as you can see, today we have lots of French experience in the panel and experience with the PAUSE program. I guess probably in the audience there's also a lot of knowledge about the French context. And we'll do our best to also include observations and examples from other countries. For instance, through Oksana and me from Sweden. And in Sweden, we host scholars in much smaller numbers than what the PAUSE program can do or what MSCA for Ukraine program can do. But we still see that we share some both challenges and opportunities. So we can speak to some of the same issues. I'm also curious to know more about you in the audience. the panelists will introduce themselves more soon. But I would just like, if you feel comfortable with it, to raise a hand if you have been or are a mentor, a scientific mentor for a scholar at risk. Is anyone here a mentor? I don't see. The problem, yeah, I see. Yeah, the problem is that I left my glasses in Sweden, so you really need to be pretty visible. Okay, is there anyone here that is an exile scholar? Are there any representatives from the administration within host institutions? Who of you are based in France? Okay. Who likes ice cream? Okay, thank you. Good. That's nice, just for us to know a little bit about each other, right? As I said, even though national contexts can differ and somehow make some, create different conditions for scholars and host institutions, we also share some challenges. And we deal with some of the same problems. One of them being, we know that when a scholar in exile finds himself in exile, it's often caused by something that is a long-term situation. And it's not going to resolve really quickly. But at the same time, we can only offer short contracts or fellowships. So both host institutions and the scholars face challenges because of this temporary nature of the support. We wish to offer sanctuary to scholars and a possibility to continue to do research, but in reality, it often demands really hard work from the scholars that does not have that much to do with research to begin with, at least, because it's all sorts of administrative matters that takes time and complicate the life of the scholar. On top of that, the emotional stress and trauma due to the risk situation that has caused the scholar to leave, and had been forced to leave. And the list goes on, struggling to settle in, and then when you start to settle in, dealing with the uncertainty of the future, where to head next, so on. And at the other part, the host institution is also in a challenging situation, most likely constrained by employment regulations, finances, so on. And for those of us, because many of us as hosts can only offer a 1-year position. And for those of us that are in this unfortunate situation, we often find ourselves immediately worrying about what is next. So we would love if the scholar could just hit the ground running, start applying for grants, do research, know the local language and so on, but that is rarely possible, right? And this, what's next after this temporary support ends, this is what we are going to talk about today, how to equip, how to give as much support as possible during a placement to equip the scholar to make informed decision, create a life that is stable, career that feels on track, although the circumstances are completely new. And what's next, it will mean very different thing to different scholars, and we will also hear about that and talk about that. But equip the scholars to know what could be the next. This is what we're talking about today. And with this, I will ask each panelist to just say something about yourself in a couple of minutes. And I will start by Clara. No, you need to push.
Okay, thank you. Hello, nice to meet you all. So my name is Clara Malkassian. I'm one of the co-directors of the organization Élan Interculturel, which is based here in Paris. And this organization came from also both students in Masters of Interculturality, which were all female and migrants themselves, and started facing challenges mostly in the French administration. And they were somehow shocked about this, and they said, what if we started an organization for interculturality, because this is like such a challenge for us. Imagine for the rest of the world, recognizing that we were migrants in a good situation, so no facing extra challenges. So this was the idea, to try to build an organization. We work mostly also with European programs, and we are in innovative pedagogy, so we try to build tools that are actually ready to use for people on the field in the social, the educational, and the health sector, and how we can build resilience together to get through different challenges depending in which sector you are working on. So I'm also a migrant myself. I've been living in Paris for the past 17 years, and I still think that I'm not 100% integrated here, or I don't feel this acculturation process finishing. And this is why I'm so passionate to continue our own research and our own pedagogy for tools to work with different vulnerable groups in general, and how to better, you said the word before, equip people to have a better and a more smooth adaptation, and to try to feel this new environment like safe for them, and how to make this process more smooth. And I'm going to develop later, but the idea is, first of all, value the identities and the diversities that we bring into these European societies. And this is one of the main challenges for Élan Interculturel, to try to see this as something rich in our societies that we can all benefit from, and how to better communicate, and how to take care of us and take care of the others also. I'm also a psychologist. I've been practicing for 12 years here, and I like to do both, to learn by the trainings that I provide and that I train myself, and then also to try to see a little bit in the clinical side what's happening with these identities and with these people also who need a little bit support in some of the phases of their lives. So I'm very happy to be here, and very happy to discover also the other panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. And Omid, if you could continue.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello to everybody. My name is Omid. You know, the hardest question for an artist is, if you ask me, describe the word, I will have 20,000 descriptions for the word, but when describe yourself, very hard. And normally we just say, I'm an artist, and that's the easiest way to say. But actually, I did my studies here in France, so I came here in 2005 when I was 19 years old. I did my licence, master, and PhD in Paris 8 University in theater department. Then I had I faced a lot of problem with administration to continue staying after my studies, so I said, I was very young, I said, come on, go. I will go back home and I will do my revolution at home. Of course, it's not very easy. And then a few years later, in 2023, I got help from my teachers of Paris 8 University. Together, we applied with the POSE program, and that's how I could come back here in January 2023 with the help of program POSE. In between, I've been also in India, because my main focus as artist is to work on lifestyle as a way of social engagement, So I went to India and lived there for a few years to discover different type of human trials to change the way of consumption and production and living. And then since January 2023, 2023, when I came back here, I started again very quickly with the help of Program Pose and then the project that called Uxil to teach again in theater department, in the same department that I studied years back. And then also I could manage to do somehow some film projections through Pose and Uxil, the project Uxil, to project my films and then start little by little finding my way back here. Because before coming back, it was very quick. No, we had to, in 1 week actually, it's amazing to see. Normally to get a visa from Iran to come to France, already to get an appointment in the French embassy, you need 2-3 months. Then you need to prepare like this much of paper and then go and get your visa. But with the help of Program Pose, I had only my passport, and in 1 week I had the visa. It was like, wow, I couldn't believe that. And but so I was thinking that this time I know this country. I was there for 10, 12 years of my life as a student. But coming back, actually, I discovered also this is totally another world. Like not only because during the last 10 years, a lot of things changed also here in France, since we are not in the same country exactly as 10 years ago, but also it's not the same life being here as a student and then also coming back and wanting to get into the professional life. So it's, yeah, a lot of new things happened, and yeah, now finding slowly my way back here in France.
Thank you, Omid. It normally doesn't come natural to just speak directly looking forward all the time, but I think that the audience will hear us better if we focus on the microphone when we speak. It's a little bit hard. You let us know if you can't hear us, right? So, Oksana, over to you.
The green button.
Hi, I'm Oksana. I'm Ukrainian. I left Ukraine in '99 following my passion for science. I'm trained as a physicist and did PhD in biology. And I've had a number of fellowships in Germany and UK as a researcher. And I think I'm happy to contribute the perspective of just a research support, which is necessary for researchers generally, because precarity of research careers is known, irrespective to the situation of scholars at risk. And I think this broader context is very important, but also the research services or research support services which have been developed over time. And I myself in 2005 changed into research administration or management and worked on developing support for PhD students and PhD program, and then also postdoctoral researchers at a Helmholtz Center in Germany. And since 2022, when MICA for Ukraine program was established, I joined Alexander von Humboldt Foundation and ran this program where we organize the selection and also then funding of our fellows in all Europe, but also then can follow how they are supported, and this context of specific experience of this program, I'm happy to share. Of course, there are certain things which are maybe very specific for the situation of Ukrainian researchers after the full-scale war started, but some of those probably are transferable also for other researchers. So I'm happy to contribute as a researcher, as a research support officer, and now through the MICA for Ukraine in the context of scholars at risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Oksana, and it's great to have that combined experience. So, Bayan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Nice to meet you all. So I'm a Syrian researcher at the laboratory MSAP of the University of Lille, and also a laureate for post-program for the academic years 2024-2025 and also 2025-2026. I'm also the Industrial and Academic Relations Manager in the Office of the Youth Club of Mass Spectrometry Society, a French society, SFSM Society. Currently, I'm a PhD student. At the end of my PhD, I will do my defense very soon, on 28th of May. And then I will switch directly to a postdoctoral position at the same laboratory, MSAP, of the University of Lille, under the supervision of my mentor, Dr. Christian Rolando. Over my 3 years of PhD, I supervised over 14 students and technical trainees from bachelor to master 2 students. I participated also in the organization and the animation of many workshops, webinars, international webinars, conferences, and international conferences. Basically, I'm a chemist, analytical chemist. I'm working now on the analysis and depolymerization of insoluble polymers, such as, for example, cultural heritage samples, such as oil paints and alkyd paints, as well as I'm analyzing some environmental samples, such as polyethylene terephthalate polymers, which are constituting our bottles, drinking bottles, and also the textiles in polyester. So I'm studying their microplastics and nanoplastics. Basically, I'm holder of Master 2 diploma in petrochemistry from the Lebanese University.
Thank you, Bayan, and we're happy that you could take your time to join this panel today, even though you're so close to defending. Okay, Christian, please.
Okay, as it's written, I am Emeritus Senior Scientist. I work in a lab since 50 years now. Roughly 50 years, a bit less, and I supervise thesis. Since 40 years, and in total I supervise more than 50 theses. During all these years, I have been also the president of different scientific society. I have done administration of science in France at the CNRS and in different European societies, and I've been the PI of big European projects. And Bayan and me are here as an example of ongoing project. At this panel and this morning, you have seen many achieve very successful post-program, but we are here to give you the idea what is going on during the project.
Exactly, yes. And I can just mention that we've imagined that we would start out with discussing some topics, and then we'll dive into the case of Bayan and Christian a little bit more in detail, so we can really get to know what has been going on. So that is the way we have thought it out. And now, actually, we can just jump right into discussing a placement from a career development perspective and reflect on the support that should be available for the scholar to be able to develop professionally during the placement. And I would like to ask Oksana, with your experience from working with the MSCA for Ukraine program, what kind of support mechanisms have you seen in the placements that you know of that have been working well? Do you have some examples?
So I think I'll start with this broader context of career development support, which I think since maybe last 20 years started to become more professionalized at organizations, at higher education institutions and research institutions, because it became clear that it's not just so evident for the researchers, young researchers, just to know what is the next step. So the whole development of understanding also the broader context where research can be done, not only in academia. So this topic also a higher proportion of international researchers who come from a different country. And for example, if they want to become a researcher at a German university, then they realize they need maybe habilitation, they need to learn German to teach, and just understanding the context of the academia in that particular country, and then of course outside academia. So there is this broad range of topics which is relevant, but services in that regard were developed now, were better, were worse, but at many organizations. And to me, the support for scholars at risk should not be like seen that this is something completely new and completely from scratch because it's so special. There are a lot of offers, for example, integration in academic system of a particular country that are already offered, and there are synergies that should be used. But what is different, and I think our program is also a very good example. So for the standard MACA, researchers are applying with a maximum of 8 years of PhD, and it's quite correct to say what is the career development. And they, in our first call, researchers or research organizations had to make a statement on impact, what is career development of the candidate. But our candidates were from PhD students to emeriti professors. And for many scholars at risk, this academic age aspect is very different. So the services which are geared for young researchers usually, or early career researchers as they are called, they are not always applicable. So in our second call, we actually changed it, I believe, in the wording that it's professional development, because even as an emeriti professor, one still can develop professionally, but it's a little bit funny to say this is career development for somebody who is head of the department. And we've seen, and I see here a few fellows of MACA for Ukraine program who were now thrown out of Ukraine because of the war, but they were heads of departments, they were professors, they taught courses, they supervised PhD students, and now, of course, in that context, offer them career development. It's a little bit, one needs to adjust and tailor that information. So that is one aspect. It's also the diversity is very, probably much broader because of, again, the situation of the country of origin and situation there. So in some cases, it's absolutely clear for very long time, there is no reintegration possible. Maybe the whole system is destroyed and one first would need to rebuild it. So people focused on integration in the academic system, and that's where one should support that. On the other hand, for example, specifically in case of MACA for Ukraine, the aspect of potential reintegration and collaboration with Ukraine and contributing to the research and innovation system of Ukraine was part of application and support. And of course, where is possible is supported. And in that regard, flexibility in terms of working arrangements. So maybe for a few of our fellows, it was achieved through part-time, where they had some time because they still teach at their home organization or supervise PhD students, or maybe there is a project that was funded by a Ukrainian organization which is still running and they have to supervise it, so they need time. But also questions of double affiliation, collaboration agreement with a home organization in terms of intellectual property rights, because if they are working on a research project and maybe developing some patents, it needs to be regulated. So these aspects maybe not play a role in case where it's really about integration and not return, but for those situations where return is possible, that should be taken into account when one thinks how to support. So this individual aspect, the country of origin aspect, is extremely important. So maybe for a starter, these two aspects that I wanted to highlight.
Thank you so much. And we are going to talk more about this preparation to reintegrate idea. So we will get back to that. And just for my knowledge, in the MSCA for Ukraine, the way you apply for a fellowship, is there a demand for the host to specify some training?
So for our program, I mean, it was designed as a one-off, then there was extension, so it was a second round. Now we've heard from Claire Morel that there would be a next iteration. One would need to see how that call would look like, but it was, the application process and selection process was aligned with the MACA standard, where there are 3 criteria for evaluation: is an excellence of science, and so the candidate background and the research project that they propose, the implementation, but also the impact. And part of the impact was, on one hand, how the host organization is going to support the research in terms of also social support, so very specific aspects related to being at risk and having to move with all family and completely unplanned. So it's challenging for somebody who plans to go abroad and has to learn everything from scratch. But of course, from somebody who does it overnight, it's a completely different challenge. So those aspects were assessed as part of evaluation, but also then professional development. So just writing, yeah, we have great graduate school, there are lots of courses, they can do whatever they want, is like good, but it's not good enough. So really tailoring, so specifically for this researcher, what would be necessary. So for example, if it's a researcher who is maybe at the transition from postdoc to a own research group or a more senior position, some specific training, or sometimes it was support to do the habilitation, so they then would be entitled to take a professorship position in Germany, for example. So those things were very relevant, and within the MACA, generally there's a possibility to, so there's one allowance, which is for research training and networking, so indicating that this would be used maybe even to get additional training if it's necessary, or attend conferences, but also they could spend up to a third of the scholarship as a secondment, and that was also in some cases presented as a career development opportunity to develop collaboration, to maybe expand a range of technical skills, to learn new technique or whatever in a different country and extend a professional network. So all those aspects. In that regard, I believe MACA generally as a model is actually very well, attractive, I would say.
Definitely, thank you. And thank you also for pointing to the concept of professional development in order to include, you know, all kinds of trajectories that you meet in this. what I know about the PAUSE project is that or the PAUSE fellowship program, is that there is the same kind of requirements, that you also offer trainings, that you make an assessment of the needs of the scholar that you're going to host. And I know that this exists also in the PSI program, that is the German scholarship program. So for us from smaller countries that we don't have this large national support program, it's really great to hear that this is built into the scholarship programs. In our cases, when we host in my university, we also ask the mentor to make an assessment, but it's not something that is there is no financial mechanism to support it, and so it's really based on just if we're lucky, it will happen, but it can also be the case that it's not really activated the way it should be. So it's great to hear that in the large programs it's there, exists.
Maybe I'll just make a small remark. Actually, one of the formal requirements once the MACA fellowship starts, and MACA for Ukraine as well, that the researcher should submit a career development plan. And this is where once they started together with the mentor, so not only promises at the stage of application, one can write many things, but very specific plan. And now, okay, it maybe could be also seen just as a bureaucracy, but it forces both the candidate and the mentor to think about it. As I said, MACA also has the special allowances that can be used for that. It also can be very helpful for some researchers in the national situation, and also department and mentor is very, very diverse. Once it's in the plan, then later they can come back and say, I need to do that course, it's in the plan. Because some researchers are so focused on science, they say, as long as you do science, and I met in my research career some group leaders or PIs who were very critical of all these soft skills courses, and they would say, as long as you publish in Nature, everything else doesn't matter. It's great to publish in Nature for your career, but a lot of those courses could be extremely helpful, and once it's in the plan, then you have a bit more leverage. So this is maybe just as a little tip. And even if there is no formal requirement, one can, as a researcher, also take a bit more ownership and be a bit more proactive and ask the mentor, and maybe some, depending on the organization, can we talk about it? So you say what you can and what is available, because I'm new here, I don't know what exists. But then I also think, because this is also a very important aspect, many junior researchers, independent of the at risk or not at risk situation, in my experience, they just follow this sort of track. Okay, I like physics, I do physics, then, oh, I can do a PhD, why not, I do a PhD. And then they somehow face, but what next? I have no idea. That they start to think about it. It's their responsibility, it's their career. And that is, I think, a very important to develop that management of expectations. We can help, but you have to take ownership of your life and your career and tell us how we can help you better. I think
Definitely.
This is a very important aspect.
And that's also a good bridge over to Omid, Omid. I was speaking Swedish to myself now. Omid. I will hook on to what Oksana said a little bit later, but just to, I would like to ask, what helped you develop professionally during your PAUSE fellowship?
Yeah, I think one important thing was to have a space, a safe space, that one can propose things. In PAUSE program, we had, first of all, like for example, the first thing was I did a film projection in Collège de France. this is like just to give yourself a self-confidence. That was very important. It was at the beginning, and it was and then it was a film I produced underground in Iran, so I could do that here. This kind of space which has sort of credits where you can invite people, because it wasn't just a film projection. It was a panel. I could invite people, and because there was this credit of Pose, Uxil, Collège de France, so it was easier to convince people that I would like to come. I wanted to come to see the movie and then have the discussion around. So one thing was this, to create and propose a safe space where you can discover how to find your way here. It's not at all the same. When I have a lot of experience in Iran, I have a lot of experience in India, and I studied in France, but it's not the same. So you need to develop and find your way here. And one other thing that really was helpful, I think, was this Uxil project. Uxil, I don't know if you know the project. It's a Université en Exil. So it's a project that within the Pose or around the Pose program have been created to create a space where researchers, scholars that are hosted here, they can actually propose a course. They can give courses. And because there is a lot of administrative problems when you come here with a talent visa. It's nice to take it. It's easy to have it. I mean, if you have the letter from Post program, of course. But it's then, I mean, it's in 1 week I got it. But then you arrive here, it's very limited in terms of, for example, to be a lecturer in university in France, you need to have another job. And otherwise, the university administratively can't give you a course, and you can't have a contract. So how to deal with this? Because with your talent visa, you cannot have a full-time job. So it's like a, and then Uxil was one of those propositions, one of those solutions, because then, I mean, it wasn't enough. I think I repeat the thing that from this morning, I heard it at least 4 times, I think. A lot have been done, but it's not enough. So with this, it was in 2023. As soon as I arrived, actually, I could continue giving courses. This was very important emotionally also, because violently something have been interrupted with what happened in Iran in September 2022. And then September, October, November, we were in the streets and we were doing other things. Everything have been stopped. And then I come back here in January, and it was very important to reactivate what is deactivated. And so with Pose, with Uxil, and also because I have this long-term relationship with University Paris 8 and the department in which I studied, we could arrange a course in the university and in Campus Condorcet that I could continue giving classes and somehow turn around all these administrative problems to be able to do it. And then, yeah, I mean, I won't go maybe too far on giving too much examples, but also there was another context in which was a festival that in that context we could organize another film projection, this time in Campus Condorcet, and that was also a good opportunity to present your work in front of another public. Also, again, with the help and the structure that Uxil gave me, you know, it's like when you, even for the French students, as soon as they finish their studies, it's not very easy to right away get into work, to professional work. For us, it's even harder, not only because we are coming from another background, another world, but also because we come with a shock and we need to somehow, like, now it's much easier to work with me after 2-3 years than in January 2023. I was much more sensible because I had a tough time for a few months, and then I arrive here and I need to face all sorts of bizarre problems. That's what I'm talking when I say safe space. A space that people also know a bit of your background, they know what you did before, and they know what is your emotional, I mean, of course they don't know everything about the emotional state, but there is some sort of comprehension, like understanding of the state of things, how it's happening. So this, and to understand that, and the integration is not only a one-way thing. It's not just, okay, I have to learn the language to understand the system, how it works, and of course this is one part, but also if we are talking about a long-term program, it's a both-way integration. It's to understand how we can also integrate this new energy in what exists. So because of all these different elements, I think having a space specifically for the scholars to develop their program, not only for the first few weeks or first few months, but to be able to think and to see for long-term programs, because we know that real change, real research needs time. Like the best artists, the best researchers, they cannot do anything in 6 months, in 1 month, or 1 year. It's just on paper, okay, but in reality, it needs time. And it's not just for foreigners, for everybody. All researchers need time to develop something. So it's important to be able to focus and to have a safe space that you can see things for, okay, if I start now this year, this much, then in 2 years, and then in 4 years, and then in 5 years, we will achieve this book or this film, or I don't know. So I come back to my first, a lot have been done, but it's not enough. Uxil is for me, it's a beautiful start for this, to create a sort of space that can help mutualize all the needs. It's a bit like, maybe you know this Atelier des Artistes en Exil. It's like one place, but it's very important that Atelier des Artistes en Exil is physically exist. It's very, very important that there is a physical space that people can go, meet, debate, and then decide for things. And that they know this, even if I don't get any more guarantees from this place, but this place is a physical place that I can come back, meet people, and continue my work with them. So for the moment, Uxil is not physically there, but the structure is there, something, and a lot of things is happening. But I think it needs to go a bit farther. And this was for me, I come back again and again on this, because this was for me a very important part of the program post. Of course, the financial help was very important, because it was very quick for me to organize myself financially to move from a country with the Iranian economy to Europe, which is totally another economy. So the financial help was important, but also this structure, this space of creation, of innovation, is a place where you are respected as a scholar, as a researcher, to go farther with your ideas, and not just it's not me, no? Yeah.
Thank you so much. And you touched upon several great messages that you conveyed about the safe space. I remember you've also talked about before the trust that your mentor had in you, the mentor during the post-fellowship. And then Uxil, And that was not something that was part of the pause offer, right? That was outside. So this is something that we can also think about, that this is a kind of a bridge, or it's something that gives you community besides the pause offer, right? Yeah. So Auxil, we are many that are not here from France. So Auxil, as I understand it, has also the funds for scholars to propose scientific events and could keep up with the scientific community, even if you are not at the moment in any employment. Is it true?
Yes, actually, Auxil it's not exactly within, I don't know exactly, actually, it's not within post program, but it's, for me, it's like a complementary program which goes somehow in parallel. I cannot say much more about the administrative way, but yeah, I'm sure she can say maybe. Yeah, please. I think. Yes, of course, I would love, because.
I don't think it's on.
Yes? Yes, it works. So I've been working with Pascal Laborier on Auxil. So with Pascal, we co-founded PAUSE a few years ago now. And as it has been said often around here, it's sure that an emergency program is not enough, because when people cannot come back, it takes more than 2 years to get integrated. And also, PAUSE is mostly built on research, whereas teaching and disseminating knowledge is also something important. So we began to build the Auxil program on Campus Condorcet, thanks also to his president and to the 13 universities that are members of the campus. So the idea is to give opportunities to current or former PAUSE or other programs fellows to either to teach or to make workshops, conferences, etc. To at the same time to professionalize more and to get access to a wider public. So it's just the beginning, the first chair, because the idea is not only to build on workshops and seminars, but also to have chairs. The first one will be selected soon, but so far we lack, as the post program, of more credits to be able to really build something stronger, but it's something we're trying to do in relation to PAUSE, of course, because the two are working together. That's it, basically.
Thank you so much for clarifying. And it's a nice example of a complementary offer that has a meaning for the researchers in exile, right?
Yeah, if I can add also, I mean, what is for me amazing with the Auxil is, okay, I came here as a researcher because I have a PhD and then I applied for a postdoc, but actually I am an artist and this is my main focus in my life. And in Auxil, it has this softness that give you the possibility to be at the time researcher. I mean, it's not everybody doesn't understand that it's two different things, but you can be at the same time both. And then sometimes you need to be this one, and sometimes you need to be this one, and sometimes you can't separate them. And in Auxil, it's taught in a way that I did propose very, like as a teacher of university, a course, but also I could, as an artist, present film and work as an artist. That's I think a very important point in Auxil.
Great. Okay. Thanks. I want to turn to Clara to ask about, during your training sessions in the within the frame of the PAUSE program. Have you made any specific observations about this professional development needs, or what seems to work well for scholars and host institutions? Could you say something about that?
Yes, and I took some notes also while both of you were speaking, because many of the things that I would like to share were already said, but the first of them is to, as a hosting university, but also as a hosting society in general, which is the place that we offer and that we are really ready to pay for the people who are coming. And how do we get to be better hosts? And the first thing that I'm always very happy to know about is how universities in general, and the PAUSE in particular, try to really equip themselves, their staff, to have more knowledge into how to host better, which are the implications of the people coming here with this specificity, and which is the stakes that they have. And one of the most important for me is this idea of, you said earlier, to gain self-confidence, to try to feel welcome, to try to really say what you think, and to have this environment. And for that, we need to understand that today, when we do a migration, and if we are in exile, this can be even harder, it's that everything gets to be transformed. The first of them is our identity, what happens to us when we change in a new environment, what is going to happen with everything that we knew culturally speaking, and all the efforts that we need to make to try to integrate a new society. So I won't speak most of the administrative part, because I think that you all faces the challenges and it's not my specificity at all, but I can say that we try to equip the local team, even the administrative team, to try to better understand what is this acculturation process. This means that what happens when we change from something that we know into something new. So we have a lot of emotions that can go with it. So we can be excited, we can be afraid, we can have lack of knowledge in general, we can have uncertainty. So there is a lot of triggers that we might feel, and how we deal with that and how we support this emotional side in concrete tools and resources that we can develop to better host. It can be at the beginning of first steps. So for me, including an intercultural training and trying to work with us into which kind of skills or resources or tools we can develop to better equip ourselves, to better understand what is the frame for the migration in general and from exile in particular, it's very important. And to acknowledge that maybe we don't have these inner resources already with us, and that we have the possibility to stretch, to learn, to develop, to test, even the possibility to do it wrong and then test again because it didn't work. And this is about what we call interculturality. What is the dynamics between what we can propose and what the otherness here represented can also play with us. And I think that one of the things that we preach better is to really try to value the identities that we are accompanying or supporting through this process. What this means, that people come with a background, come with a story, some of them are happier than others, but that they are welcome to be whoever they are, and that we don't need to put a mask to be here in France or to be hosted or to be accepted. And the first thing is to try to get this self-esteem, self-awareness that we are wanted and welcoming. It changed everything. Because when we work of what we call like a resilient support, we're going to point out the strengths that people had to be here at the first place, the challenges that they already challenged and they faced, and they are already here, so we can try to, all the threats that we can sense from the outside, they can be now somehow apaisé. What is this word in English? Appeased? No. See? Well, okay, solved somehow. And now we can feel that we can start working on another level. And when we change cultures in general, we need to change the way we feel, the way we move, the habit we have, how we eat, how we move, how we sense the environment. So actually to move from one place to another already brings a lot of efforts to adapt. And you said before also something about the time in which we can or we cannot do things. And you, Oksana, also said about, the difficulties that sometimes as a hosting organization we can face because it's budget, because it's training, and so on. And something that we cannot control is the time that each of us needs to adapt. Some of us have more inner resources and maybe adapt faster, and some of us needs more time. And this is what we try to do when we do resilient support, because it's to acknowledge already what they already accomplished and try to make them see by themselves, with our help, the inner resources that they have, which one they have still to develop, what can be acquired, for example, in the future, and how valuable they are for our hosting society or our community here in POS in general. And this, we'll say, it's the basic things which we can then start building something after. But this first thing accompany or support the adaptation process to understand that it takes different timing for each of us, and try to, again, put the accent or the zoom on the resources and the values that we share for them being here. It's the first things to do. And sometimes in administration, I always said that I've been working in universities for 15 years. Before, I was also only invited for students to make their integration process, 1/2 a day, like an intercultural workshop, and then they started to calling us more and more about this specific audience, and on the universities how to train also the administrative staffs, how to train the teachers that were supporting also this kind of classes, how we can adapt to this new reality that is changing all the time. So we see also a change of paradigm somehow in how we host, how we think, and how we identify which are the needs that we need to develop to become better, or the better version that we can. And this includes also to hear and to listen from the group itself, which are the things that we are already very good or starting points, and which are the ones that we still need to develop. And the last very short thing that you said, integration is not only one way, and this is exactly what is the most difficult thing. Because if I can share a personal thing, I remember when I arrived to France, I arrived in quite good conditions because I had the right color scheme, I have the Bac plus 7, I have 7 years of study, I was already a teacher at university, I was already a psychologist, I came on a plane with a little bit of money, I spoke 4 languages, and this didn't make me at all an integrated person. So these are the things in the prefecture, in the police, that they say, oh, great, so you can be now in France. But this didn't mean at all that I was integrated, because even if I wanted, I'm always seen as somebody external. So this is where I always invite all of us, that we are all citizens and hosting societies in general, to think also which is the relationship that we have with foreigners, with people in exile, or with other backgrounds, and how to make this a both-way path. And this is why we said that in our training we try to also put a light in the diversity and how this makes us more rich in general as a society, as a professionals, and as a human beings also, because we get the chance to interact and to make maybe new European societies that are much more diverse and complex than the ones that we already imagine. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Clara, for these great reminders that also resonate with what we heard earlier and this morning's session as well. So we're coming to this tiny break that I promised you before. but I will just give you a cliffhanger because right after the break we will move to talk about Bayan and Christian. And as you maybe sensed before, Christian and Bayan have worked together to really install Bayan solidly in the academic landscape in France. And it's interesting to hear this example. So you will have a 5-minute break, and then we're back here to learn more about the trajectory of Bayan. Thank you. So welcome back. And I hope the short break did you good. So, as I said, we're going to turn our attention to Bayan and Christian to know more about the trajectory so far of Bayan's scientific development.
Okay, yeah. So I will talk about my little...
You need closer to the mic.
I will talk about my little academic journey. So as I said before, I was doing Master 2 in Lebanon. I was refugee in Lebanon after 1 year of surviving conflict in Syria. I got my Master 2 in petrochemistry. And for my research project, I got the first rank. So I got a scholarship from Lebanon to have a joint PhD diploma between the Lebanese University and the University of Lille. So I got in touch with my mentor via Zoom meeting. It was at that time the COVID-19 pandemic. And also due to many problems related to documents, instead of arriving to France in October 2021, I arrived to France on May 2022. There were many problems related to visa, so I have to do the administrative things to have a residence in France, for example, granting and other stuff. So my mentor helped me a lot in this stage. After arriving to France, I was not very familiar with the French language. I tried to develop my French, so I did a lot of courses at the doctoral school in Lille. I was already a B2 level, and then in Lille I got C1 level, so now I'm confident to talk in French. This is about the language, also about the administrative things. They were not easy because for a joint diploma I have to do registration in Lebanon and also registration in Lille, so I was doing them over these 3 years. What else to say? Okay, for the scientific things, I did a lot of trainings also. In Lille, I participated in CNRS thematic schools to have expertise in my chemical appareil that I'm using, the mass spectrometry. And after that, in also May, I have a lot of events in May. In May 2023, my dad passed. Also, my mentor stand me a lot at this time. During this tough time, my mentor encouraged me also to go to Paris. I already got an oral in the international conference EMMS at Sorbonne Université. So I was obligated to go just after 10 days of the death of my father. So I went that time. And then during this time, I applied, I put my candidacy for the elections of to be a member of the Office of the Youth Club of Mass Spectrometry Society, so I did it. Then I was elected by this scientific society. From that time, I am the industrial and academic relations manager in this society. This position helped me to develop my skills, communication skills, leadership skills, project management. So I was actually the responsible of the general organization and animation of the national conferences, for example. I was also organizing online webinars with other scientific communities, and with and I was doing also some workshops with seniors, researchers, and young researchers as well. What else to tell about my little story?
It's okay.
I think I will let the time for my mentor to complete what I missed, actually.
Thank you, Bayan.
You didn't speak of financial problem. Bayan is not the first Lebanese student who came in our lab. I have a previous PhD student with a professor at the Lebanese University, so we have a regular Lebanese going in France for thesis. So everything was well organized at the beginning, but as Liz said this morning, the Lebanese money has been divided by 10, around 10, when Bayan arrived in France. So it has been a very difficult situation, not easily predictable. And it's why Bayan applied to the POST program. And I have to describe how is working the POST program for PhD and postdoc. Sure, you need to fill a proposal. The proposal includes the research, so there is a part coming from the lab. The university is collecting the proposal, looking if they are correct, but also there is an important point on the proposal. The lab must afford 1/3 of the money of the salary of the full project. So it's a strong commitment of the lab that everything will run smoothly. And it's relatively, I will say, easy for hard science. We are manipulating money. We need money for everything, for the instruments, for the chemicals. It's much more difficult for humanities, for example, and there is a difference between the two, at least in the University of Lab. Some proposal didn't get the funding part from the lab. I wanted to emphasize this point. That what I have to add. I have to add that my first role is the scientific quality of the PhD, because we are in hard science, and a good paper is a good paper in Europe, in the US, or in China, or in Japan. It's the same. And at the end, the quality of the thesis is ranked by the quality of the papers. So my first role is to give a good subject and subjects with contact, because you can stay alone in the lab working in a field with no contact, but it's much more interesting to have many contacts. And we are working in analytical chemistry. Our job is to develop new solutions, and after to get contact with people interested in, and as Bayan is working on microplastic, not in this bottle, but in this glass, in paper, I am pretty sure that there are many, many microplastic. In a microplastic bottle, you have 1 to several billions of nanoplastic. So every time you drink in a plastic bottle, you are drinking nanoparticles. And so the contacts are also here for develop new projects, and new projects that we have submitted to funding agencies. There are several, and to get funds for the postdoc, because when you have a thesis, a good thesis is a thesis with papers, of course, good papers, but also which is able to find the financing for the next thesis or next postdoc. It's our life, it's a life everywhere. In the countries of north of Europe, PhD are writing by themselves the proposal for the postdoc most of the time, and in the US also, and who are working in the same way.
Thank you, Christian. And you point toward several really interesting issues here. One was the commitment, of course, of the institution and the actual, the expectation also to really work to get a good quality in what both parties are investing in this. Now, of course, you've had the possibility to work for several years with Bayan, which of course also makes some efforts easier. You can work more long term, but it seems really impressive the way you have been exposing Bayan to so many different aspects of being an academic, like supervising students, organizing activities, being this scientific society. So it seems that you've had a long-term plan for Bayan. So you have not could imagine that you would drop Bayan after the PhD. You have been equipping her to go on by exposing her and also letting her be part of the network instead of just being in the lab. This is my understanding. So this is a powerful example, of course. Bayan, would you like to add something to what has been helpful for you in this?
First, thanks to POSE, they rescued my PhD at my third year, actually, financially. I as I'm laureate for the next year, 2025-2026, I will have, with pause, this bridge of my career, so I can think about what I have to do next if our projects will not get the funding. Actually, we applied for 2 projects. One of them with the ANSES and the Université Littorale, focusing on the environmental aspects of microplastics and nanoplastics on marine ecosystems, and the other one with the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Lille and the CHU of Lille on the effects of nanoplastics on health. And we are hoping that both of them will be accepted. If not, really I have this bridge, this 1 year of postdoctoral to search for other opportunities, either in academia or in private.
Yes, yeah, because it seems also being in this position of in charge of industrial relations, you also have this connection to the world beyond academia, right?
Because of my position as industrial and academic manager in this society, I have a good networking with a lot of researchers in industries as well as in academia.
So, just a question to Christian again. We've talked about this before today, that it's a tremendous effort that you have made. I know that you have also been in need of support from other parts of the university in order to achieve the state of things.
Yeah. I forgot first to thank the PAUSE program and all the people beyond the stage, because there are many administrative people.
Can you move a bit closer to the microphone? Just a bit closer to the mic.
Okay. Yeah, I will to thank first PAUSE and all the people, the administrative people behind the stage, because there are many people involved. We are here where the end user of the program is relatively easy to tell what we do, what we have done, but it has been not possible without many people here at the Collège de France, at the university, and also for France, for Euraxis, which is taking care of the link between the university and the prefecture to get the visa, which, as you described previously, it's a nightmare. And it's more and more complicated. Every year, it's becoming more complicated than the previous one.
Yes, and I think Svetlana is not here anymore, but you remember the Euraxis offers that Svetlana mentioned this morning, and it's really Euraxis points are in many universities, maybe not in all, but in 43 countries there is a national Euraxis contact point, and in many individual universities as well. So we need to remember they are there to help us in some of our efforts, right? Okay, so I would like to, now we have 20 minutes left, and we would like also for the audience to be able to ask some questions or comment on something. I would just like to offer some of my takeaways from what you have been saying so far. At the beginning of a placement, really to remember to accompany during the onboarding process, to install the self-esteem in the scholar, to remember that it's a both-way integration need. And then also to make an assessment quickly of the individual scholar's situation, needs, and to draw a kind of individual plan for the scholar to follow during the fellowship, the placement. Make use of the ordinary research services, and also make use of your access. Give the scholar space to also take agency and create own possibilities. Regarding the individual needs, it can be about being invited into different academic communities, or being allowed to continue the teaching, but really individualize it, tailor-make the program for the individual scholar. And don't forget this community building sense of belonging to something. It can be UXIL, it can be other measures. So that was what I took from your beautiful speeches. And now I would like to ask if there are questions, comments. I see plenty. Where to start? Maybe here. And remember, I don't have my glasses, so you really need to. Yeah, good. I see it 4. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We start from there.
Good afternoon. I'm Marcos Torres. I'm from Brazil. I teach at the University of Rio. I'm a law professor. I am in France now for the Marianne program on human rights. I did my PhD in France some years ago. And my question is, as I teach law, I see sometimes there are many offers for fields like what they call hard sciences. It's not a criticism. I know it's you're very important for society, but sometimes it's difficult to find opportunities for scholars at risk when we are in humanities or law or similar fields. Because as I could see in the morning, sometimes there are many options in the private sector, because maybe your field scholars who work in engineering or in medicine, maybe they can, let's say, sell something for corporations or research and enterprises, and sometimes we cannot do the same. And my question to resume is, which strategies could you recommend or suggest maybe to offer more opportunity to scholars who are at risk in humanity or social fields areas? Thank you very much.
Sorry? Yes, we can collect a few questions, yes. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Alexander Bigborf, sociologist. I'm going to resume the session in the wrap-up, in the following wrap-up. I'd like to ask all of you to give an example of practices or techniques which, from your point of view, or from your personal experience, are most efficient for the integration, for the post-pause or post-scholars at risk, post-assistance program integration. Thank you.
Yeah, so we need to allow time for that, but we have...
Hi, thank you for the work that you do. I was wondering if you had examples of support strategies for researchers at risk who are also parents, and especially mothers who might not be able to access the public childcare arrangements in the host country. So if you have examples of how you've supported those types of researchers, thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to know if you have any experience asking your colleagues in some institution in France or in other countries for institutional support for building your own centers or associations. For example, in CNRS, there is specific centers that are helping colleagues to build their own laboratories, or it's called a montage institutionnel, to build your own European project, to build, to ask for grant, etc. There is also, as I know, such center in Campus Condorcet, which helps researchers to build their projects. Do you have such experience, no. Thank you.
Okay. We have one more.
Thank you so much. I'm just very impressed with the connection between mentor, Dr. Christian and Bayan. It's very good example, like being as a scholars at risk. My name is Azada. I came from University of Agder in Norway. So when we meet as a scholars at risk researchers, we are fortunate to get this opportunity, like being in the, like either France with POS or with the scholars at risk help. But again, we are thinking we have a family member, we just moved from different places, and we can't go back to our home place because of the situation that makes us to be at risk. And we are thinking what will be next. Everybody, for example, like a few weeks ago, we had a meeting with my colleagues from the scholars at risk researchers. So everybody is talking, we are blessed, we are fortunate to have this 2 years or 1 year opportunity. Then after, what will be our next journey? It's kind of floating. We are just being in a dilemma. What will be our next journey? So I'm just impressed with what Dr. Christian do for Bayan. That's what we need. We have to be something to network us, or we have to be integrated to either industry or just having like postdoc positions. Like we are just being happy with 2 years, and again we are or 1 year, like a program with the POS or with the scholars at risk. At the same time, just we are being here with the family, and we are thinking what will be our next journey. So how can you recommend, for especially for the host? I'm just asking, how can you just take this as a role model and then trying to integrate the scholars at risk researchers, either with the private industry or with something relevant positions? Thank you so much.
Good. Now I think we need to start answering to some of the questions and see if we get time for more. So about the opportunities for scholars in law, social science, humanities, is there something, maybe Oksana, you would like to comment on that?
I will probably give like 2 comments. In my experience, there's a bit of misconception, maybe because natural sciences or hard sciences, people a bit more visible, and people just presume there are more opportunities for them. I would say specifically MACA has no subject focus. It's open for all research fields. In Germany, funding from German Research Foundation, no science focus, open for all research fields. The Walter Benjamin program, PSI program in Germany, absolutely no science focus or whatever research area focus. And there are, of course, then maybe advice if one, maybe in some other countries it's different, also to look at scholarly societies and also foundations. So for example, in Germany there are foundations that are specifically focused on supporting historians or supporting social scientists with focus on Eastern Europe. So then it's like depending on the research area. So that is generally for that, and I wanted just to answer quickly maybe the comment on researchers with family. Again, in my personal experience supporting researchers, I would say that there are now a little bit more general offers, and there are some foundations in Germany, one specific by a former Nobel Prize awardee specifically to support female researchers. But I think in this regard, Corona also helped a lot because it just opened eyes that a lot is actually possible without physical presence and also more flexible arrangements. Specifically in our program, in few cases, this was also made possible through part-time arrangements. Of course, this has also financial implications, but one needs to see what works. I think there is a more general appreciation of the needs and also willingness to accommodate. Of course, there are some research projects that are very difficult to do in part-time, just from the topic, and not always possible, but searching for help generally is very important. And maybe if I just, then I'll stop, for the question on the practices, maybe one specific for those here who are from organizations, it's keeping in touch with alumni and following their development, and then also engaging them and inviting to act as a role model or share their experience, how they developed. So in one organization where I worked, we set up a career pathways lecture series. This was just generic for researchers to understand that there are more careers than just professor. And about 30% of our speakers were our alumni. And this is like very motivating for researchers, because if you see a successful person who became a professor or set up a company or is now a patent lawyer, with knowledge of biology and cancer research, it's great, but if it's like you don't relate to them, you feel, yeah, good for you, but it's impossible for a foreigner to do that. And then if you see that this is somebody just like you who 10 years ago was in the same position and did PhD or postdoc in this organization who have succeeded, this is very motivating. And then also serves as a potential mentor or also for networking, explaining a little bit more in detail that it means maybe some additional training is needed or what is the entry point into that field. So in my experience, this was a practice that is generally very helpful for researcher support, but for the scholars at risk could be particularly helpful because there are, of course, some extra factors that affect their development.
That's a great suggestion, and thanks for reminding us about the alumni. That's also contributing to the sense of belonging in the community. So yeah, so just so that everyone actually gets a chance to mention this one particular practice that you would recommend, I think we should, maybe we start over with oh no, Clara, it was a long time ago you've had the chance to speak.
It's okay. For me, for this question about the integration process, I can only say training for the hosting organizations to prepare the best you can. I don't know, it might seem a little bit naive or utopic, but I think that time, because before talking about integration, we should realize there is first adaptation to arrive to a new place, to a new organization, to a new culture. And then once we feel safe, that we start being recognized, valued, only then we can start learning or incorporating codes and things from the hosting organization or community. So as I said before, this is different timing for each of us. And so if the programs or the support that we provide can be in the long term, even if these are, I don't know, regular meetings, even once a month, but giving the space when we don't leave them, that we are really hooked to these people through the whole process, this will be for me the best advice, if possible. Time, the training, and also maybe to don't disregard everything that is linked to mental health in general, how we can support and which is the approach for them into this, and which kind of resources we can have in the organization or external resources that can also help and balance whatever we cannot do internally.
Thank you, Clara.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will maybe first, I mean, it's a bit mixed for me, the two questions that I have some answer to give is, you asked about if in other countries we have the experience of building a community, a project like that. Well, from my experience, I worked in Iran and in India, and in these two countries, it's very hard, nothing to do with what we have as support here. But then something valuable was, because we tried to do things there. And for example, we tried to do a community of artists in Iran without having the CNRS who can support or other type of, and especially in Iran, if you want to do something like that, a community already is a crime. I mean, a community without letting the government know what exactly you are doing, it's suspicious and it can be crime. So you need, it means that you don't really get financial help, so you don't have this possibility of creating this structure up, down, or whatever that can, okay, ask people, you get this money and you can do this, please, or what, something like that. So we had to invent, to be creative, to see how we can actually create a community if we don't have any financial support and any established structure. So we have to be inventive. In India, also, we had this project of working with kids, and it was a 5 years project, and we had to work as a team. It's a big project for with 300 kids and 30 artisans for each year for 1 week, do trainings with these kids, and everything on a voluntary base. So it means there is no chef can saying, you go do this and you come back, you do this, and this is. So how to motivate people and how to create a structure horizontally without having this financial motivation. So this, I think, is a very valuable experience. Although I don't have the experience of building a project through CNRS, and then I don't know exactly, I mean, I'm trying to learn how to write up the project and then apply it where, who needs to read it first, and then where to send it. Okay, something that I try to learn, but then I have something else, which is how to build a project without the financial motivation and without the financial support, and just based on the humanity. I mean, yeah, it's not to undermine the projects which have this financial support. Of course, this is much better to have some support and do it easier but yeah, this was just to give a comment on what you just said. And then just to come back on your comment, I think in both for us as researchers who come in a new place, as well as for the structure who are hosting, the community building is very important. Now, everybody knows that. I'm not inventing something new. But we are going, I think, more and more to make the community through WhatsApp or through clubs, through there is a lot. It's also good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a tool. It's a beautiful tool, and we need to use that. But it's not enough. The meetings online and then having a group to post things and propose. It's great. But it's one tool, and it's not at all enough. Having a physical space where physically people can go inside that space and meet and debate and talk. This is very important. How to do that? I don't know.
How to do that? Yeah, I have to cut you off because we are almost finishing. I'm very sorry, but did you get to say what you want to say? Good, and you got that. So over to Bayan and Christian, and you are the role models. We heard that, and if you could give advice as to how can others install similar kind of support structures in their or strategies, right, in their institutions.
The most important thing is really to do good networking, to participate in other communities, even to go on site, transfer your science, your research to other people, to the society. For example, me, I organized a workshop for grand public, for all people, to have conscience about the bad effects of microplastics on health. And based on that, I was inspired to write the proposal project, for example. So the most important thing is the networking, participating in NGOs. I will also mention the help of POSE, that they put me in contact with the Center Euraccess, that really helped me a lot to renew my residence permit the last year, as well as the help of the host institution. For example, when I didn't get the scholarship from Lebanon, I got accommodation for paying my residence in France. I appreciate also the sessions of POSE about the professional insertions. I think they will be soon. And the communication between the laureates and alumni in POSE. So for me, the integration, it's a mix of really networking, good work, excellent results, volunteering, transferring of your research to the community, to have a good chance and to be patient, because having a permanent job in France is not really easy. So we have to be patient. I'm optimistic all the time.
Yeah, and the same goes for other countries represented here. It's difficult to get a permanent position, right? So, Christian, just some final brief comments. And
a brief comment.
Yeah.
A point we have not discussed at all, it's a brain drain. At this time, no PhD who got his or her PhD with me go back in Lebanon. They are all outside. But it can evolve. For example, and right now, half of my former PhD are back in Morocco, either in the academy or in the industry, and I think it's good for the future. And I hope that in Ukraine, in Lebanon, it will be the same in 10 years.
Yes, thank you. And sorry, I forgot that we're going to come back to reintegration. We will have to keep that for next session. And we won't know if you will do another revolution in Iran either, Omid. No. So thank you so much, all phenomenal panelists. Thanks for sharing and discussing. And thank you to the audience. I really wish we had also been able to interact more, get more of you. You have a lot of experience, and I hope that you have been talking to each other in the breaks at least. Would have wanted also to hear more from you here. But we've spent our time. So just to wrap up by reminding that our joint efforts are contributing to safeguarding a free and open science, and to acknowledge that science needs a diversity of perspectives and methodologies to flourish. And that's what we hope to achieve by collaborating here. So thank you so much, and enjoy. Are we having a break now, or what is? Yeah, next break. Yeah. Thank you.